Now that we are recording and call the meeting to order from looking over the roster of the 11 participants who are here, is there anyone who has visitor business that is not part of the public hearing on the matter in question?
If I might interrupt that part of it, Helen, under the new rules of the state, we need to have everybody identify that they can hear and be heard as part of their roll call for the members of the Plan Commission.
Okay, so
Sorry for being a stickler.
no, that's fine. I don't recall doing that last time. So we will ask our Secretary Brett Smith to please take a roll call and assure that everyone can hear.
Okay, I can do that. Commissioner Wilson, I'm assuming you can hear.
I can hear.
Commissioner Cohn, can you hear?
Here.
Commissioner Casimir.
Can hear fine.
Commissioner Matthews.
Yes, I can hear.
Commissioner Rubin. Looks like you're there. I see that he's there, but I think he's on mute, maybe.
He does not appear
Give a
to.
thumbs up.
Oh, yes. No, he does not appear to be on mute.
Hi, Shelley.
Sheldon, are you there? He may have, now he's on mute and
Yeah.
no camera.
Okay. Oh, Commissioner Bauer, I believe I just heard you.
Yep.
Okay, and then are we just missing Commissioner Terrett? Richard there?
Yeah, Richard's not here. Commissioner Tourette, that's correct.
Okay.
Did he indicate that he would not be attending?
No one indicated to me that they would not be attending. And that could be him right now.
No, I think that's looks like that.
Yes.
Okay.
He just tuned in. And,
Yes, I see him.
Don't know if he can hear or not. He appears
Commissioner
to be
Terrett, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay. I had trouble finding the meeting invite of all things. I should not have it.
There's no
Elected
absences.
It was sent about a week ago, so,
Yeah, I know. I put it into a folder. I'm like, what folder did I put that in?
yeah. Okay, Shelley, I see that you are not muted now. Can you hear? Commissioner Rubin, can you hear? He's still not responding.
We got a thumbs up.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All
then
right,
I guess
the
just
the others who are present include the planner, James Hoag. We also have the applicant. I thought I saw the applicant here. R. Phillips is going to be presenting.
Just an interested party, just listening. Thank you.
Okay. Who is making the presentation?
My name's Rob Douglas. I'm the architect for the Pranters, and I'll be giving you the presentation. The Pranters are here too.
Are they with you or are they?
I believe.
Oh, I
they've
see
dialed in.
Brian Trainer. Okay, so for all those who expect to testify then during this hearing, will you state that you will testify as to the truth of this matter? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay. The new business before the commission today is a public hearing, consideration of a request for variation of the required side yard setback of 40 feet down to 14 for the north side yard within the R2 zoning district for the construction of an attached accessory structure, a garage, and expansion of the principal structure on the property located at 7031 North Willow Spring Road, and submitted by Mr. Robert Douglas on behalf of property owners Brian and Michelle Praner. Did I say that name correctly?
Prainer. but
Praner,
close
okay.
enough.
Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, to begin with, we will start with Mr. Hoag, who has a presentation on his report to all of the commissioners. Jim, can you give us that report, please?
Yes, I will give you that report, and then I sent you a bit of a modification to it after Helen and I spoke this afternoon. I will speak to that as well, and I think Attorney Filippini will have comments on that also. But let me get through my presentation first, and we can go from there. The property is located on the west side of North Willow Springs Road. It's 4 lots north of the intersection of Meadow Lane and Willow Springs Road. It's zoned in the R2 zoning district and consists of about 1 acre of land. It's non-conforming with regard to lot size, but it was subdivided and annexed that way when the Towner subdivision was annexed into the village. The property contains a single-family residence that was constructed in 1984 and a garage that was built in 1987, excuse me. It's lot 14 of the Towner subdivision, which was recorded in May of 1952. The property was actually developed in unincorporated Lake County and was actually developed before the village was even incorporated. It was annexed into the village in 1986. And as I mentioned, the subdivision of the property and the construction of the residence both predate the incorporation of the village. The request is for a variation on the side yard setback from the required 40 feet in the R2 district down to 14 feet for the construction of an attached garage to the existing single-family dwelling. There is no change in zoning anticipated. Surrounding zoning is all residential, pretty much R2 with the exception of property to the west, which is unincorporated but is zoned single-family R1 in the county. Again, lot area is just slightly over an acre. Lot coverage is about 4,100 square feet. It would go up to 5,328 square feet, which is 12.2% lot coverage. They have a 40% maximum, so they're within that standard. The FAR would jump up to, that's floor area ratio, about 6.3%. We do not have a standard for that. Height is currently 15 feet. The height on the addition would jump up to 20 feet. There's a 35-foot maximum. That's for a principal structure. If attached to the principal structure, the accessory portion would be considered part of the principal structure. The front yard will not change. It's non-conforming at 69 feet. The ordinance would require 75. The side yard to the south is at 46.8 feet. There's no change there, and that is conforming to the 40-foot side yard setback for the R2 district. The side yard on the north side, where the addition would take place, is currently non-conforming at 14.37 feet. That would slightly change down to 14 feet, but really it would be about the same. The rear yard would change slightly, but would be down to 161 feet, with 40 feet being required. So there is no problem with the rear yard setback. When I reviewed this, I looked at what we call the 50% rule, and the way we have interpreted that in the past is that the accessory portion of a principal structure not exceed half of the square footage of that principal structure. We have interpreted that ever since the Neville situation came about, which resulted in litigation where a very, very large accessory structure was constructed on a piece of property well in excess of the principal structure. So as a matter of policy, this is not ordinance, but this is policy, we have used 50% of the principal structure as the maximum for the accessory structure. That is where the clarification that I sent out this afternoon came in. Helen and I spoke to that, and when I looked at it, I looked at it as 50-50. That is, I thought, and Helen and I went over this, and she actually had to convince me because I had it stuck in my head, that I looked at it and I was like 50% residential, 50% accessory. That's pretty much what it comes out to when you look at the square footages. I believe it's actually 1,396 square feet dedicated to the residential portion or the principal use on the property, and 1,335 square feet dedicated to the accessory use, which is the proposed garage. The principal use, the house is being expanded by about 288 square feet, and that's what gets them up to the 1,396 square foot mark. Again, we have used the 50% rule as a matter of policy. It is not ordinance, but that is the standard we have used to determine subordinate with regard to principal and accessory uses. Outside from that, there are really no other issues. I apologize for the error, but like I say, when I looked at it, I misinterpreted it. So you do have my memo from this afternoon that explains all that. And if you have any questions at this point, I would be happy to try to answer them.
Are there any commissioners who have a question for Jim on the report? Anywhere, because we're on the architect's screen, I'm not seeing anybody right now, so.
Helen, this is Rich Terrett. I don't have any questions on Jim's report. so-
Report, okay. So let's go. Commissioner Dwart, do you have any questions?
I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself. No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Cohen, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, no.
Commissioner, let's see, Casimir?
Not at this time.
Okay, Commissioner, who else is left? Sheldon Rubin. Commissioner Rubin? Do you have any questions? Still not hearing. Commissioner Bauer, do you have any questions?
I'll reserve my comments until later.
Hey, does that cover everybody? We've heard from everybody except Commissioner Rubin.
Commissioner Rubin, Helen gave a thumbs up, so I assume.
Oh, okay, great. I can't see that. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now let's turn to our architect, and we'll turn it over to him for his presentation.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for accommodating us here on a Zoom meeting. My name is Rob Douglas, and I'm the architect for the Pranters, and I'll take you through the slide presentation here, and then we can open it up for discussion from there. quick overview of Long Grove, and as you can see, the area that we're talking about is at the very far north end. And it is a rather unique area in the fact that we counted out 51 1-acre lots that are in the R2 zoning, which is 2-acre zoning. So there are over 50 houses with 1-acre properties with 2-acre setbacks being applied to them. And this is a little redundant because Jim walked us through some of the history here. I think our dates might be a little bit off from what he had outlined because the owners told me that their house was built in 57, which was, and it was annexed into, or excuse me, Long Grove was incorporated in 56, it was mentioned earlier. The house was built in 57 and the garage was built in 87. And 86 is when this was annexed in. And so, and ever since then, it's been an R2 zoning in that area. So with that R2 zoning, we have 75-foot front yard, rear and side yards are 40 feet. And here's the calculation for the square footage and then the limitations on what a building can be done on this property. Maximum height 35 feet and the maximum floor area, impervious surfaces. It's all really, everyone knows this. So I'll move on to the existing conditions that of what the first, what the house is, which is currently at 1,108 square feet with the detached garage. There's a lot of remaining floor area capacity and a lot of building height capacity based on the bulk allowance for this property. Here's the Plata survey, and to make it a little easier, I created a site plan from the survey highlighting where the pre-existing non-conformance exists. This garage built in the 80s was obviously now is a non-conforming structure. And you can see the 40-foot setback lines on either side, which really force everything into the middle of the property. It makes it challenging, no question. So real quickly, this is just a quick floor plan of the house because we're going to be expanding a portion of the house to the back. These are the current elevations of the existing house. And so the total, you can see the existing calculations for total and then the proposed addition. And these are the numbers that Jim was referencing too, that we're adding 288 square feet to the existing house with an attached garage. So the total addition, including the garage, is about 1,600 square feet, and the heights and total impervious surfaces. So we're well within all of those items. It really comes down to the side yard setback. So this site plan, this proposed site plan is showing in the light gray where the addition would be, and we would be, building upon the original garage and then expanding it from there. 14 feet is what we're asking because the garage currently is rotated slightly in a clockwise fashion. So we don't want to encroach upon anything more than 14 feet, but that's why we are asking for that. And as Jim said, front yard is not even being touched. That's a non-conforming condition, but it's being left alone. It really comes to the side yard setback is really our point of discussion here. Here's a quick floor plan of the proposed addition. You can see the dash line between the kitchen and the dining room table. That addition is to the left, extending west and then tying into the new garage. And some quick elevations. The grade does fall to the west. The natural flow of the whole area is really in a southwest direction across the land. So the structure does, as it goes farther back, becomes lower in the context of viewing it from the street. So in conclusion, this site application we have, or strict application of the R2 zoning, because of the side yard setbacks of 40 feet on a lot that's 130 feet wide, only gives you 38.5% of width to work with. And this, we believe, is creating some real hardship for the owners in trying to improve the property. Also, when the Pranters gave notification to the immediate neighbors around them, they also talked to most everybody in the neighborhood and have 19 letters of support for their variance request. And so we would like this commission here to consider the setback variance along the north property line so they can rebuild that existing garage and enlarge it so it can be connected to the house. And Brian and Michelle, if you want to add anything at this point, please do.
No, you covered everything. Just hoping they make a decision.
Thank you, Rob.
Is that the end of your presentation then?
Yes.
Okay. Have you submitted the 19 letters of support?
I scanned and emailed them to Jim, and I believe they were part of your packet.
That's correct. They were part of your packet, Helen.
I haven't seen them.
I don't recall them being in the packet.
No.
Do the 19 people include the neighbor to the immediate north?
I believe so. Brian,
I'm in Lakeside.
well, your neighbor to immediately to the north, are they part of that 19 letters of support?
Yes.
Yes. We have neighbors all the way down the whole street, in front of us, behind us. There was only one house that was across the street that they were renters.
And it's bank owned.
Yeah, it's bank owned, and there's no one there. We talked with all the neighbors. They all supported it. All the neighbors' kids come over to the house all the time. We have a nice park in the backyard. I mean, there was no questions asked on all the neighbors.
But I can't do much about the letters of support. I mean, I've got a PDF file right here. But I thought that was going to be distributed with your packets that went out.
It should have been, and I thought I did distribute it, Helen.
No, I don't have it. Did anybody receive it?
I don't perceive that I received it, and I thought I printed everything off.
And Jim, to be honest with you, I don't need the 19 letters of support. I'm good without them, so I'm fine with it.
We do have them. They are there, and if I didn't include them in the packet, I thought I did. I had a separate folder of everything that I sent, but apparently I didn't. But
They weren't in the distribution I had, but sometimes when you attach a number of PDFs to a file, not everyone makes it. Maybe that's the piece that didn't make it. So,
because I had them in a special folder, because it gets kind of it's so much easier when I can just copy things hard. But I had a folder that I had everything that I was going to attach, because I thought that would be easier, and I was pretty certain they were in there. We do have them, though. They do exist.
Yeah, I trust they exist, and I don't need to read or see them.
Yeah, no worries for me either.
None for me.
I saw everything that's up there, so they would not. It wouldn't make me any happier than I already am. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go down the list and see if there's anyone who has any questions of the architect. So I'll start. Commissioner Terrett, do you have any questions or concerns that you would like to raise with the architect who made the presentation, Robert Douglas.
Yeah, I just won, since you're expanding the size of the building, will it create, or have you anticipated any drainage issues there? Because if I recall, this area has some drainage issues at times.
There's no question, prior to getting into construction documents, a topographic mapping will need to be done. As I mentioned, the water generally drains in a southwest direction across the property. And the high point really is right where the lettering 75 front yard setback, that's pretty much the high point of the property. And then it gradually moves to the southwest. There will have to be some grading plans done to move water around the structure properly. But until we know where we stand with this project, we have not proceeded to that level of design yet.
Okay, thank you.
That it for your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Rubin, do you have any questions? Commissioner Rubin, do you have any questions?
Ellen, thumbs up, so I'm assuming that's no.
Okay. We'll come back to you if you do. Commissioner Matthews, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen, do you have any questions?
Momentarily, just probably, this may be more for Jim than anybody else. The garage was built after the subdivision came into Long Grove, is that correct?
There was a garage that was on the property that was in approximately the same location that the current garage is. I believe that garage was rehabbed, if you will. I don't know that it was demoed and completely reconstructed, because looking at old aerials, it looked like there was a non-conforming garage in approximately that location for quite some time.
Okay, so there was a pre-existing garage before Towner subdivision came into Long Grove, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so no variance was asked for way back in the 80s?
Correct.
Okay, so yeah, no, I have no problem with the situation with the garages. I see it. There's no way you can have a garage in this property, given the way that the subdivision has been since long before it became part of Long Grove. There's no way you can have a garage of any size without violating the subsequently created lot lines. So no other questions.
Okay. Commissioner Casimir, do you have any questions?
No, I'm good with everything right now.
Commissioner Bauer, do you have any questions?
I do want to point out or ask, so when you look at the topographical region, it ranges roughly between 760 and 745, yes?
Well, based upon the packet that Jim put together, yes. But it's,
that's also what I received from Lake County. It actually bodes well for this garage because most of it files away from where this garage would be. So I'm happy with that. I'm also very happy to hear that you had all of the letters of support. The next issue for me is I already know from looking back through all these years and all the plats that there was a garage in that position already, and that there have been no issues. So that also bodes well for me in terms of what I think about this. And then lastly, you had up what the inside of the house looked like relative to the kitchen and the floor plan, and that what you are proposing actually makes a fabulously better kitchen, mudroom, entrance to the house. I think what you've done with this house makes it a much, much better place to live. I think it makes a kitchen livable. I think it gives you space. I think that being able to walk into your home without snow and find a place where the mudroom is. I hope that's also your laundry room, Prainers, because I think that is a fabulous way to sort a better living space for you. So I don't see, even when I've done the topographical engineering, which I'm capable of doing, I think that's truly good. I believe that knowing that there is less than a 0.02 degree change relative to north-south, and that asking for another 4.5 inches is reasonable, especially since having walked most of those 51 1-acre lots over the last year, the last week, everyone has the same issue there. Everyone's home is in the front half of their acreage. So I happen to think what you're suggesting only makes a better value for your property. So the only question I would have for you, Mr. Douglas, is there anything else that you would suggest that would even further increase the value of this piece of property?
Well, all I know is, the needs of the homeowner, and we were addressing the homeowner needs here and how it's reflecting itself in the floor plan. So, and honestly, when it comes to water drainage, I think the one area we need to deal with is because of the asphalt driveway, that's where the grading has to be really worked on so we can move the water around the side of the north side of the garage and then let it then feed its way across to the southwest. But,
And you know how to do that, right? Even lowering the grade and putting all the stone in and figuring out how to move the water. Yes, you know how to do that?
Well, I'm not a licensed civil engineer, but I think, we will have, the appropriate people to help define where the finished grades need to be. So we can manage the water properly coming off the driveway. So the garage doesn't fill up. That's the last thing we want happening. But
well, we also don't want it to drain onto anyone else's property, is
correct.
I think what the original point was.
Absolutely. No, all water will remain on the Pranters property. I can't really speak to the far southwest corner because it's a heavily wooded area down there. So, but for the immediate area around the building, we can certainly keep all water on the property and not impact the neighbors in that manner.
I'll have one more comment later in terms of the farmhouse being smaller than the barn. So I'll refrain from saying that right now.
Is there any reason you want to wait?
Yes, because that wasn't part of your original question.
Okay.
I thought Jim said that house was actually slightly, as expanded, is now slightly bigger than the expanded garage.
That's correct.
I think the numbers that Jim gave were that the house in its new configuration is 1,396 square feet. And the attached garage is 1,335 square feet. So the difference between 35 and 96 is 61.
Correct, 61 square feet.
So the house will be 61 square feet larger than the garage, which is an accessory building.
Well, it's actually an accessory use.
Accessory use.
It's one structure, and use is actually the thing that you should be looking at with that. It's about a 50-50 split, with a slightly larger square footage being devoted to the principal use of the property, which is residential.
Okay. So any other comments from, I think I've gone through all of the commissioners, so it's down to me. And I will say straight out that my biggest concern with this is that the accessory use is practically the same size as the main building. And we have not taken that path in the past of going that large. So I would have a question for Mr. Douglas. Is it necessary that this building be this large?
Well, it was definitely the objective for the homeowners to have a garage of this size. That's what they were trying to achieve here. And honestly, the 50% rule policy here, as you know, when this report first came out in the middle of September, that was consistent to the way I believe we were thinking, and today's email is a different take on the 50% rule policy. I guess if I can ask a question, because that's a policy, not an ordinance. So can you clarify how policies are used versus an ordinance, which is pretty much law at that point, I believe. But because it's it's a variable that honestly it kind of caught us by surprise today. We thought by having this structure actually physically attached as one structure that I guess we didn't realize that the terminology of use was being applied versus just, I mean, if this is a detached structure, that'd be pretty clear, but defining under use, it kind of created a different take on what is being talked about here with this 50% rule policy. The policy a guideline, or is it, I guess I'd love to get a little clarification on that.
Helen, this is Vic, if I might address that.
Sure.
First, the standard is that an accessory use or structure has to be subordinate to the principal use. In effect, if it's equal to or larger, then it won't be subordinate. So the 50% rule is really just an interpretation of what the standard is under the code. From that perspective, it is equivalent of law because it's reflective of what the language is in the law. With respect to the proposal as it stands, it does seem to comply with the express language there. So it's not a violation, but it's certainly a consideration for purposes of whether this is an appropriate proposal for variation. There was one thing that I noted, which is not addressed in the calculations, is that the survey as well as the aerials show a shed, although it seems to be in a different location on the survey from the aerial, but there seems to be a detached shed, and the calculation of that shed, which would be an accessory structure, is not reflected in any of the calculations that I've seen. And given the very narrow margin between the principal use and the accessory use, there may be a question of actual compliance with the accessory use standards. So perhaps you might elucidate on that.
Well, Brian, you know, I remember seeing like a shed structure in the way northwest corner of the property. Can you speak to that?
The shed was there when we moved in. So it was in the spot where it is.
What is its size?
It's like 10 by 10 maybe. It fit my lawnmower in there and a couple bicycles and kids' toys. It's very, very small. And to be honest, it will probably be taken down if you approve of this because of its age is all rotted away. And we tried upkeeping it, but it's not surviving the long winters.
I would note that if it's 10 by 10, that would actually tip the balance on the subordinate standard. So I think if this were to be approved, one of the conditions would have to be the removal of that shed.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I said, it is really no use. It's no good, I should say. It's not. It's all rotted when we moved in.
Its lifespan has been maxed out.
Yeah.
I'd also think if you got this new big garage, you probably can store that which was in the shed in the garage.
Correct. As of right now, we can't pull both our vehicles in the garage. We have because of the low height and the width. My wife parks out in the driveway all winter. I don't want that. And I have some toys and that's it.
But thank you for the clarification on that policy. That I appreciate that clarification. So thank you for doing that.
Helen, may I speak, please? It's Commissioner Bauer.
Sure.
All right, so approximately, I don't know, 18 years ago, 19 years ago, I was able to put a garage on my home through a building permit, which exceeds what the Prainers are requesting. The Prainers, as well as 51 other lots, were brought into the Long Grove, annexed into Long Grove under R2, even though all 51 lots are 1 acre. So I want to know what the history of that is. I'd like to know legally from Mr. Filippini how 51 1-acre lots could be brought into Long Grove as 2-acre lots under R2. Part of the discussion of the application is financial hardship, which I don't believe that's financial hardship, but I do believe it falls under unique circumstance and it involves all 51 acres. The issue for me is that I happen to have had a particular architect, Robert Parker Coffin, and I believe that's how I got my garage under the exact same circumstances as the Prainers. I also would like to bring forward the fact that we have allowed a property on Route 83 for the same type of thing. So I don't think we have anything to argue about here. They're asking for less than 4.5 inches on the side, and they are putting into effect a better and more valuable property with what they want to do and making it more livable. So I truly think that we are spending an extraordinary amount of time right now that we don't need to do. I believe we should take a vote. I believe it is a positive and well done addition that makes their lives better and makes their values and makes the property values surrounding them better. So I would just like to move to a motion. I do have one thing that I would like to say in terms of how they could make it better. And yes, the garage is large and it faces forward. So I would like to see that they would choose a different garage door that makes it more aesthetically direct to the front of the principal structure. And I think they can do that. It may cost them a little bit more money, but I think it would be pleasing aesthetically. And I'd like to move on because this is getting kind of crazy. I had the same issue at my house. Same exact issue. I needed 5 inches. And I went through on a permit. Didn't have to have a hearing.
Does anyone want to make a motion? I still have not heard a motion to this issue.
I make motion to approve the variance. I would like to see a different door facing the front of the property that would make it blend better with the rest of the properties. And I think the Prainers would be happy with that too.
Not sure it's in our territory to be telling the petitioner about the aesthetics of their door.
Charles, we've done it 4 times since I've been a commissioner.
So I'm looking at that as if this were to come under the territory of the Architecture Commission, that they can do such things. I didn't know whether we could or not. I don't know.
That would be an appropriate condition if you choose to attach it to the motion.
What about the condition that the back shed come down?
I think that would be necessary for zoning compliant. And I think that the other comment that I heard as a consistent theme is making sure that all drainage requirements, including the watershed development ordinance requirements, are satisfied.
Yeah, I would agree with that, as Commissioner Tarrant, so.
Mr. Douglas,
Yes.
what would it take to make sure, you've obviously worked with Lake County Drainage. What kind of information have they given you and your petitioner to make sure that the water is all right?
Oh, gosh, I know we haven't really gone to that level of detail. I think we're at basically a schematic design here. We have not gone into construction documents. So, and, we know we need to get, some civil engineering done to, and I think once we have those calculations, then we can really engage Lake County at that point. So, but we'll need to have an engineer involved to compile that information.
Which is, as we all know, when you have an addition, that you have to get the requirements satisfied by Lake County, yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Right, so as I understand it, we have a motion that has been to approve the variance with a variation that there is a requirement that the door be different, that the shed come down, that it meet all drainage requirements. Is there a second to that motion?
Commissioner Terrett, I will second that.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Casimir, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Chairwoman Wilson, how do you vote?
No.
Chairman Cohn, excuse me, Commissioner Cohn, how do you
You're
vote?
giving me a promotion, but no, I'll vote aye.
Commissioner Matthews, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Terrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Commissioner Rubin, if you can hear me, how do you vote? And he says aye through a thumbs up. So the motion would pass on 6 aye and 1 no.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations, Prainers.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you may exit the meeting if you choose. I think that you have to release, Mr. Douglas, I think that you have to release your screen.
I'm in the process of trying to do that. Bear with me.
Just get off share screen. I think that'll do it. Just so you know, there will be a report made to the village board next Tuesday that forwards the information and the recommendation of the planning commission. Hopefully they will direct council to prepare an approval ordinance. That would come back at a subsequent meeting for hopefully approval. The planning commission is an advisory body. They're making a recommendation here. That recommendation typically carries a lot of weight with the village board, but that's the process from here on out.
Okay,
All right?
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the July 7th meeting, which were sent to all of us. Does anyone have any comments on those minutes? If not, may someone make a motion to accept the minutes as approved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Will you please do a roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Casimir,
Aye.
Chairwoman Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Commissioner Terrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer,
I was not present. I abstain.
that's right, and Commissioner Rubin. Thumbs up. So on a voice vote, 6 ayes and 1, how do we say that? 1 abstain.
One nay.
So the motion passes.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next business, we were also sent the calendar for meetings for 2021. Hopefully at some point we will get back to in-person meetings. Is there any comment on the proposed calendar?
Nope.
Okay, I don't think we need to vote on this, do we?
Yeah, I believe
Yes,
you
you do.
do.
Okay, may I have a motion then to accept the proposed calendar for 2021?
Motion to approve 2021 calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Commissioner Casimir.
Aye.
Chairwoman Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Commissioner Terrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer,
Aye.
and Commissioner Rubin. Thumbs up. On a voice
I
vote,
love that.
7 ayes, and the motion passes.
Okay. Our next regular meeting is currently scheduled for November 3rd. The attendees to the village board, October 13th, that's next week, would be Commissioner Matthews. And for the October 27th, that would be Commissioner Terrett. Since we know that there will be an issue before the board, it is probably important that
Which issue?
this one, the one we just dealt with.
Oh, I didn't think of it.
May I switch with somebody? I will be actually in Arizona, which is our
I'll
first
take it. Thank you.
vacation this year that we can actually go to. So I will not be able to attend on the 13th. If I
I'll
could
take
speak
it.
to someone.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other issues?
Yes, what's going on with Phillip Estates? I don't quite understand that.
Phillip Estates would be, at least theoretically, on your agenda for November 3rd. There have been changes to the stormwater management regulations. I'm not sure if those are proposed or actually ordinance at this point in time, but they are trying to comply with those new regulations. It has an impact on the design of the subdivision. They're trying to work within those regulations and not change the design to the subdivision. However, they don't want to bring something to you only to have to amend it to comply with those regulations. So in short, they're trying to work through the changes to the stormwater management regulations, which has been the delay.
Okay, and then my last question is the South Gateway TIF.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so since we are both the ZBA and the Plan Commission, will the South Gateway TIF issue come before the Plan Commission portion of us, which is part of our job?
Well, first of all, the Plan Commission and the ZBA have been combined, so they're no longer two separate commissions. That was the case up until, boy, I can't remember when, but a few years back, so now it's all combined. I do not believe that it will be brought before the PCZBA.
Can we
Either
request
for
that?
consideration. Pardon me?
Can we request that?
Why?
Well, who asked why? Was that you, Helen?
Yes?
Well, because you spent 3.5 years working on the Plan Commission and sorting out what the plan would be and what all the zones would be. And
I'm not understanding what a TIF district and what a TIF district would have to do with any of our duties.
because the TIF district that's being proposed does not align with the Plan Commission's decision in terms of Zone 5.
But the zoning will remain regardless of the TIF. Zoning is entirely separate from the TIF district, so any change in zoning would need to come before the Planning Commission, just like any other change in zoning, regardless of whether the TIF is in place or not.
So if that did in fact happen, it would become something in front of us.
The TIF?
In
Or the
term,
Any
the
change
zoning.
in zoning would have to come before you, regardless of whether the TIF is in place or not. So if the TIF is in place and there's a change in zoning, you will hear it. If the TIF was not in place and there's a change in zoning, you would still hear it. The TIF does not affect zoning.
Just wanted to make a point in front of Victor.
Are there any
Yeah,
other,
that-
are there any other matters for discussion? I will entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I move to adjourn.
Second,
Is there a second? Would you take a roll call, please?
Sure, who seconded it?
Cone.
Thank you. Commissioner Casmer,
Aye.
Chairwoman Wilson,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohn,
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews, Commissioner Terrett,
Aye.
Commissioner Bauer,
Aye.
and Commissioner Rubin. Thumbs up. On a voice vote, 7 ayes, the motion passes.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. I think you can turn off the recording,
I
and
will
we
do that.
will come together again on November 3rd.
That's
Good night,
the game
everybody.
plan.
Thank you, everyone.
That's the game plan. And yes, thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
Have a wonderful evening. Bye now.
Bye.